It was kind of flattering at first until you begin to get some of the people with very nasty comments. You know, those football fanatics didn't appreciate the idea of me quitting football, going to baseball, and some of the comments that this guy down in Florida had to make. So I got to working over by a few of the football fans about the whole idea.
When did you first learn that this masquerader was down there? Did you read about it in the paper or what?
Well, no, I heard on the television, a special bulletin on Watch Television. Jerry Levias had just shocked the football world by quitting, and I didn't know that. Then my phone rang, and there's our publicity man, Jim McLemore. He was telling me about it, and I thought it was funny at first, but it began to be very hairy later on during the night.
I don't suppose that you've had a chance to talk to the young man who was using your name, have you?
No, I haven't had a chance to talk to him. The young man is William D. Street, but a guy like that he has so much, he wants to play baseball so much, so you kind of feel sorry. I guess he feels about baseball the way I feel about football, and I'd do just about anything to try to play ball. Well, matter of fact, I did just about everything trying to play football, so I know what he's going through.
If you are among the $80,000 to $85,000 sites that use North Central Expressway in a given day, then you are being watched on television, not for traffic violations, but rather for traffic control. It's all part of a computer-controlled access program, which was to have gone into operation last December, but is now hoped to be in operation by June or July. According to Mr. Jim Carvell, the Assistant Research Engineer for the Texas Transportation Institute, and Bob Yielding, Texas Highway Department Assistant Resident Engineer, this program could be in operation after approximately 90 days of testing which will program an IBM computer for each access characteristics. Now, these traffic lights and signs that say metered when flashing could well be into operation by early summer. It's a $471,000 project, but it could well cost $1 million by the time it gets into operation. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Well, of course, what you have to recognize is that the responsibility to the general public is greater than it is to the employees.
The general public in that community is severely affected by the unemployment of those people.
No, I'm talking about Boeing now, for example. Boeing's had a responsibility to build, and they used to be competitors, so I respect them as a competitor, and I have very good friends at Boeing, to build good airplanes as cheaply and efficiently as possible for the government, for commercial use, for use throughout the world. And their responsibility is to meet the demand for that product. And as Boeing was growing and growing and growing, they had to bring people into Seattle and the surrounding area in order to build these airplanes. And if Boeing kept 50,000 people on the payroll with nothing to do, they destroyed the company in a matter of weeks, and there'd be no Boeing company could do nothing about it. There'd be no shareholders left, no ownership left. And secondly, and therefore the employee would have nothing at the end of that period of time. And secondly, you would ruin the man by having him stand around doing nothing.
Story about your first attempt at pro football and all through college that so far you've escaped managing to have been weighed and measured. They've never gotten at you yet, huh?
Right. I found it was one of my assets not to let them catch me and get my correct weight or height, just only to judge me on my ability, the things that I could do on the football field. So it worked out pretty good, and as of yet, I still haven't gotten used to people measuring me or giving them my correct height or weight.
Do you think, Jerry, honestly, looking back now, when you were a rookie or when you were a senior here at SMU, if someone had gotten hold of you and found out your true height, your true weight, that you would have gone lower in the draft?
I think so, because I kept on wondering about my weight. I would say that I was 175 or 180 in college, but actually in college I was about 165, and I played SMU like that. But I wanted the people just to judge a man on his ability, to play the game on his ability, and this is what they had to do with me. Take the chance on me, see if I could make it to Pro Bowl, and which I think right now that I don't think the people in Houston are too sorry. At least I hope not.
Did anybody ever come close to actually getting you with a tape measure?
Yeah, they actually came close. They almost shut me on two doors. One door you go in for it to be weighed and measured. Next door you come out, but somehow I got out of that. And I was in Alabama at the Senior Bowl game, and all the scouts from all the pro teams were there, and I escaped that somehow, and I think that's the closest I've come to being caught.
You know, it's kind of amazing, Gil Brandt, with his omniscience and his faculty for tracking everybody down, that somehow you managed to elude even him.
Yeah, well, I knew that the Cowboys had one of those efficient staffs that they got to wait and put it all on the computers and all this. But the computer, even if they had any type of thing to say about me as being an athlete, it had to be half done because they couldn't get my correct height or weight. So any results they got from their computers about me, it was only half done.
This restraining order will stop the coming elections and all other elections until the city has redistricted according to the 1970 census. And single-member districts are created. The city charter dictates that the city must reapportion the districts according to population shifts and changes. Along with this, we feel that the city at-large system of voting deprives the minority communities of a voice in city government.
Mr. Johnson, don't you think it's rather impractical just 3 weeks before the election to try to get the city redistricted?
That's why we're asking for a restraining order. The election need not be held necessarily on April 6th.
But why did you wait so long to ask for the restraining order?
Well, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but the city has waited 11 years not to do it. So if we're going to do it, now is the time to do it.
Well, after 35 or 40 years service, you should at least call me on the carpet if I'd done anything wrong at the time I did it, and say, here's something you've done wrong. You never had to call me on the carpet. I'll come over here and sit at the school board a time or two, brother, before your time. See? And I think you really mistreated me to put that in the paper. This boy here, I don't think remembers me, but I live within 2 blocks of his home. I went to school with his brother, and I had voted for him every time his name was on the ballot.
I wish you'd made that speech to me before. I kind of liked it. I didn't know about all
all of this vote from you, Mr. Dendigger.
Well, I have.
However, I did look into it after you called me on the telephone, and this other man had already been appointed, and there was nothing that could be done.
Well, there are several advantages. One of the advantages that I can think of just offhand is a tremendous savings to the taxpayer of Dallas County. For instance, if this bill were to have been enacted and was in force last Sunday, when our last census was taken, we had some 364 people here in this institution who would be, for the lack of a better word, eligible under this House bill. And at the rate that has been computed by our auditor, it cost us, in round numbers, $5.78 a day to house these prisoners, or about $767,930 a year to keep these people here. And of course, that's keep people in the Dallas County Jail, whether they be on appeal or whether they be serving a jail sentence. But each time you have one, it still comes to that figure, about $5.80 a day.
School officials theorized that the thieves jimmied a window on the lower floor, made their way to a classroom on the third floor, and then carted away 5 adding machines, 2 calculators, and 5 electric typewriters valued at over $4,000. It must have taken some time because each machine was carried about 200 yards to a waiting vehicle. Tire tracks found this morning led to this theory. There's no one or easy solution to this problem. Comparing the cost of theft and damage so far this school year to the same period last year, the dollar figure has dropped better than 10% this year. School officials attribute the drop to the inauguration of paid security patrols in the district, parent patrols around some of the schools, increased cooperation with the police department, and some of the schools even have listening devices monitoring the school when it is empty. It's not the complete answer, but so far these solutions have shown results. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
The Burleson City Council feels that enough is enough. They say that the U.S. Supreme Court has already done enough to erode the power of the law without the Texas legislature pushing for more erosion. The resolution before the council tonight asks that the legislature throw out a number of the proposed revisions in the penal code. The councilmen object to the general lowering of penalties for crimes and to the increased allowance of temporary insanity as a defense. Burleson Police Chief Homer Barnes says that in addition to further tying the hands of the police, the proposed code would also create constitutional confusion.
I believe fully it will take much longer for trials to come about. There will be a lot of cases will be dismissed because of faulty complaints or revisions that have been made in this new penal code.
Chief Barnes has been one of the powers behind a petition that's been circulated in Johnson County. The petition condemns what the chief calls permissive provisions. The Burleson City Council will probably submit its own special petition to the lawmakers after tonight. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, Burleson.
I think some small investors have become disenchanted with the market, but I see signs that they're coming back into the market too, perhaps better educated, with the idea of investing based on the soundness of the company and not as part of some speculative fever.
Mr. Bulls, there was a report in the last couple of days that one of the brokerage houses had instructed its customers' men to not take orders unless it would net the house at least $15.
Well, we want to hear about such things. If any brokerage firm refuses to take the order of a customer on the basis that it's too small, that's something that we don't think is consistent with the public interest. And we have the small investors' interest very much at heart here, and we want to know about such situations. Of course, a broker has an obligation to, if the customer wants it, to advise the customer as to the suitability of purchasing a security. And some brokers will attempt to use this tack, perhaps, in saying, well, you really shouldn't be in the market.
This sewage treatment plant owned by the city of Forest Hill on the southern edge of Tarrant County is only 15 years old. But for 5 years now, it's been woefully inadequate. It was designed to treat sewage for 5,000 people. Forest Hill population is now close to 10,000. The city was warned about 5 years ago that its effluence, while not being dangerous, was still below minimum state standards. To solve the problem would cost close to $500,000. Preparations began with a bond election in 1966. The last hurdle was overcome yesterday when Mayor Joe Pate announced that the city had received a $73,000 federal grant. They received a first federal grant of $75,000 6 months ago. To solve the problem, Forest Hill engineers worked out an agreement with the city of Fort Worth to link up with the South Side Collector sewer main at the Fort Worth Water Treatment Plant just west of here, and with the Village Creek Treatment Plant just east of here. 2 sewer lines utilizing up to 4.5 miles of underground pipe will be used, making this outdated facility of no more use.
No, really, I don't want to get into local politics. I'd rather not, you know. I have, you know, good friends in the legislature, and I'd rather not go into that.
Well, by coming here, aren't you getting yourself involved in local politics, though?
I don't think so, sir. I don't think so. I don't think so, because here it is, the city of Dallas, I understand, has one, correct me, what's the Mexican-American population here? Do you have an idea?
About 150,000.
150,000, yet we haven't got one representative in the House. And seems to me that, you know, somebody has to come down here and see what's going on.
There are over 10,000 school teachers visiting in Dallas today. The occasion is the 92nd meeting of the Texas State Teachers Association, a 3-day convention encompassing business meetings, exhibits, and famous speakers. The TSTA is a powerful organization, never one to be shy about its feelings on the quality of education. Saturday, the group will get together and voice its collective feelings in the form of resolutions it will present to local school boards and state and national leaders, which will include everything from such touchy subjects as contract teaching to sex education. The classroom teachers of Dallas have added to the list a resolution that could take the governing of teachers out of the hands of political appointees and giving it back to the teachers themselves. The TSTA has some 138,000 members, making it the largest professional organization in the state. And when a group that large has something to say, you can be sure it will be heard. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judy Hanna.
Well, now that is a very bizarre, very unusual case, and its laws have never, at any time in the millions of years that the earth has been here, been able to control individuals. If you recall, the first man born of woman, Cain, was the son of Adam and Eve, was slain by his brother. And the 10 Commandments didn't stop it, and no laws are ever going to stop it. Crimes of passion are not controlled by laws. It's when the laws are based on logic, and people who commit crimes of that nature are not logical. They are emotional. The emotion takes over, and that's what causes murder.
The Burleson City Council, having just vacated their meeting room, feels that enough is enough. The councilmen say that the U.S. Supreme Court has already done enough to erode the power of the law without the Texas legislature pushing for more erosion. The resolution passed by the council tonight asks that the legislature throw out a number of the proposed revisions in the penal code. The councilmen object to the general lowering of penalties for crimes and to the increased allowance of temporary insanity as a defense in court. I asked Burleson City Manager Frank Proctor if he feels the action taken by the council tonight is applicable to other cities.
I feel that people should follow their convictions, and we certainly feel this way in Burleson. In fact, we've had a petition sent to the governor of Texas with over 1,000 signatures from the city of Burleson on it. We've written our senators and our representatives, each one. I've written to all of them. I haven't gotten an answer from one, but I got an answer from Mr. Ward, our state senator. Our state representative. He said,
the action taken by the Burleson City Council tonight may be representative of Texas communities. More and more communities are becoming involved and interested in the laws passed by the Texas legislature. Such interest wasn't apparent only a few years ago, but now the cities feel that they do have a stake in the future. They have a voice in what's passed at Austin. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, in Burleson.
They had some justified complaints, I think, in some cases, and we're looking very closely at the quickest way which we can improve those situations where they felt that they could be improved, and I do too. So we're looking very closely now at ways in which we can improve our operation in that section of the city and all sections of the city. And I was glad for the opportunity of meeting with these people, and I think it was a productive meeting, and I'm quite pleased with the outcome of it.
Well, this is something a lot of people say Austin Carr is all Notre Dame has, and you stop him and you can beat Notre Dame. Well, you know, they've played approximately 26 games to date, and he's seen every type of defense that could be thrown at him, and he's still averaging 37 points a game. They have some other guys that can really play the game of basketball. They got a 6'8" kid named Pleck inside that weighs 240, and he can push you around and he can run and jump. They got a 6'7" kid named Jones who is averaging over 20 points a game and is averaging around 12 or 13 rebounds a game. They have another one at 6'7" that's strong also. They will be one of the biggest teams we have played this year.
Do you think they will neutralize Kennedy with their strength around the backboard?
Well, I don't think they'll neutralize him completely because I feel like Eugene is quick enough. He's going to get some rebounds, and he's going to keep competing, and so he's going to do some good. However, one of the strongest points of our game, even though we're a small team, is our rebounding. And it's possible that the Notre Dame's big kids could neutralize that.
Yes, I think many times. Matter of fact, I guess I still get embarrassed to a certain degree when in some public place somebody will start playing the record and ask me about it, and some real clowns want me to sing or something like that. It is embarrassing, and the Archie Who stuff, you know, everyone thinks they're a comedian if they can say something like that, but many times in public it has been an embarrassing situation.
Have you found that perhaps that adulation has lessened to a degree since football season has ended? Have you begun to be able to live a kind of a private life?
I think so. It's been a little better. I think a lot of that's been forgotten, and everyone in Mississippi and around the South, I think, is pleased that I'm gonna be with that the Saints drafted me, and more or less when I see someone, they talk about the Saints and so forth, and about being down there. So I think that more or less is taken away from and made some of the things about Ole Miss be forgotten.
I guess his forte was that of lifting the blacks out of this area of poverty and on to a higher economic plane. This man found the opportunities. He went to industry, he went to the giants of industry and sold them on the idea of using more blacks. Then he developed a training program to develop skills among the blacks in the poverty area so that they could fit into industry in gainful employment. This is the great thing he has done, and I'm sure this is the thing that he'll always be remembered for.
Closed down, a victim of progress in a growing community. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, Forest Hill.